What if exactly the thing that brought you here, where you are right now in your career, is the thing that is actually stopping you to move forward, to move to what is next? What is the next step for you? Well, the market and the companies would always reward people who execute well, who solve problems, who are able to deliver on their square of work. And of course, reward in many cases, in majority of the case, can mean a promotion. So this person is delivering so well and for a long time in this role, so maybe he is ready for the next challenge. And that's how the ladder in the corporate work, the map of career normally works, right? What is the problem with that? The problem is that many times you promote the one who is actually the better on doing some activity, like sales, for example. He's the best salesman or the best saleswoman in the team, and you promote that person to lead the teams of salespeople. Now is a sales manager. What happened then? You lost a great salesperson. And what you have? A not that good leader for that team. This is connected to a study and to a work from the Canadian educator Laurence Peter, who in 1969 would publish a study that would become known as the Peter Principle. The Peter Principle has one idea, and this idea is something that I would like to read very slowly so you can pay attention, okay? In any hierarchy, employees tend to be promoted until they reach their level of incompetence. Again, in any hierarchy, employees tend to be promoted until they reach their level of incompetence. Quite a harsh one, right? But think about the salesperson example. Maybe he actually became a great leader for the team of salespeople. And then what happened after some time? The company would promote that person again to another position. And in that position now, the sales skills are not relevant anymore because he is responsible now to stay in contact with the board. He need to negotiate budget for his team. He need to negotiate and hire who is going to come from his team. He need to focus on the people, developing them. So he's not focusing on his or her main skills. That is, in this case, selling, right? And that is the problem with the Peter principle, that companies should, is at least what the study is showing, companies should focus more on the skills and abilities rather than just promoting people for the sake of the promotion. You know, to lead a team, you need a set of activities, and to move to a next stage after becoming the lead of the team, like become a manager of the sector, for example, you need a lot of different activities that are very different from those who actually made you came to the position that you are right now. And the same goes, for example, for software development. You have a great software developer. He's the best one on producing great code with great quality. It doesn't mean that this person is going to be the best to manage other developers. Maybe he or she lacks a little bit of the skills needed to negotiate with people, to work with the performance of the team, to put people together, to build a culture for the team. And that is much more than just creating the lines of code. I'm not saying that this is the rule. I'm just taking the example here for us understanding the Peter principle, okay? Because I am sure that many great engineering managers were great on coding, on programming, and they will become great managers as well. That is something that I see happening all the time. But we need to be careful and also reflect to our career. The position I am right now, what are the skills that made me arrive here? And are those skills, the ones I'm developing right now and the skills I have, the same that would make me move to my next ambition or to my next desired role? That is a question that people don't ask themselves that frequently. You know, the Peter principle is of something that I really recommend that you have some time to read and explore a little bit more. But I want to bring a little bit more data for this discussion. I study from 2018 would research more than 50,000 workers from 214 different companies, and they would find exactly this evidence from the Peter Principle study. Companies who promoted their best performance into management roles, even when those performers didn't have a management or a leadership profile. Then another research from the ScienceDirect in connection with the Stanford Graduate School of Business would confirm that past performance in one role does not predict success in the next role. And they researched many different companies as well in many different kind of positions to make sure that this study and this data stay relevant. Because what we are basically concluding by the data is that your current performance in your current role doesn't mean that you are ready to be a good performer as well in a different kind of role that would require different kind of skills and abilities from you. There's another thing that I want to reflect on this topic before we close that down. That is on how we prepare ourselves to those kind of new challenges. Because if you have the skills you have right now in your role and you are performing very well on that, it, you can still have your ambition, right? You can still think and reflect about the role that you want to be. I do that all the time. That is part of the game. I made another video in my channel explaining that is something that you should be careful to not focus too much on the future, like what you want, and forget completely the learning curve that you have in front of you with the role that you have right now. But it's always a matter of balance. But how do you prepare? Because one way is always looking to the skills you have and try to make it more evident, make it even better. But are you stopping for a while to reflect about the skills that are needed in the role you want to move? Are you asking the people who are in those chairs right now to get some evidence and ideas about things that you need to develop in yourself? Think about that. Think about that in your next walk outside, okay? Because if your role, the title you have, the square you have in your current the role that you are playing right now, if that disappear for some reason next week, would your skills, the things that you have with you, within you, are those still relevant to keep your job in the same company? I'm asking that because during a redundancy process, for example, a company can go through a restructure and decide that different roles will disappear, not be needed anymore. They are the redundant roles. How about your skills, about the things that you are good executing and doing? Are those still relevant to keep your job? Think about that because the things that we keep with ourselves and our constant evolution or constant look for more formal or informal, but for education to stay qualified is what can keep ourselves relevant, not just for the company we're working right now, but for the market.